Hello. Okay. We had no sound. But we have sound now. I can see it.
Here we are.
Yes. Okay. Once again, I'm Gory B Movie, and with me today is my very special guest,
Kayla Nunn.
Yeah. So yesterday over on Horror Addicts, we did a spoiler-free, mostly, review of Knock at the Cabin. You can check that out over on Horror Addicts TV. And we had Doug Nunn, her husband. And now I get to have her on my channel, so it's pretty cool. Nice to see Jaden, one of the B Movie Coven members here in the chat today, and the Horror Collector Fiend. What is happening? So guys, forewarning, we are going to be spoiling the heck out of this movie. We watched it after we had read the book, and we've been just really wanting to talk about stuff without like people being like, no, I don't want to hear it. So if you guys don't want to hear it, it's fine. We can just hang out by ourselves.
Yeah. We have plenty to talk about.
We have a lot to talk about. There are some very big changes from the book to the movie.
Yeah. I was reading some things on Goodreads earlier, and somebody said it followed really closely to the book until it didn't.
Yeah. So... And speaking of like things they followed really closely on, like the opening scene is directly out of the book.
Exactly.
Wen is sitting on the front lawn and she's catching grasshoppers and cataloging. You know, I love her cataloging.
Excited, high energy, how big they are, and they're all like the same size.
Yes.
She had to.
She loves animals and she wants to be a vet someday, so she's studying them, but she knows, you know, keep them out of the sun and stuff. While her two dads, Eric and Andrew, are on the back porch. Ooh, thanks, Horror Collector Fiend. They're on the back porch, and they're, in the book, you get a little more of what they were doing before Wen comes to get them. But it's all pretty close to what happens in the book.
Yeah. I feel like there was a little more character development for Eric and Andrew in the book, and that was really what sold it for me. Like, you get to know them and their relationship and who they are as people. And when you're watching the movie, you don't really get to know, like, why they make the decisions they make. I mean, you do, but, like, just not as strongly as in the book. Like, it all was, like, kind of laid out for you before they got into the mess that they got into.
So, yeah, this book and this movie have a big decision where these four people show up at their house and say that you need to either sacrifice one of your own or the world will end.
Yeah.
So, we do get some more information about this in the book, and it is presented differently in the movie. It gets, I don't even know where to start with this, but, like, one of the things that you don't see in the movie is we find out that Leonard, as soon as they got there, he booked it. He actually ran, and then I guess he slowly, casually started walking when he got closer.
Caught his breath, slowed down, was like, I can't rush up on this girl.
Yeah. And I kind of got the impression it's because he's a big guy. Like, even in the book, they describe that he's 2 tree trunks big.
Yeah.
he's a big guy, and I think he's used to people being intimidated by his size.
Yeah.
And so he's learned how to talk to people to put people at ease. And I think, especially because they have Redmond in the group, who is really, really antagonistic, he wants to get there first and talk to Wen and, get her to trust him so that they can let him inside and have a conversation. Because he knows they're not going to have any chance if they're afraid.
I think he knew he could connect with her without anybody else around, without the dads around or any of the other members around. He could get on her level, become her friend, and you could really feel almost like his desperation when he was talking to her in the book. Like he really wanted to get it through to her that they had to let them in. They had to let them in.
And I like when they show up, she's like, "Are those your friends?" She's like, "You're my friend. Those are more like people I work with."
Yeah.
He says that in the book too. Like, a lot of these lines are directly from the book. Even their shirts, that's from the book. The only difference is Sabrina's shirt was more of an off-white as opposed to yellow.
But they were all the same, but just different colors.
The characters seem pretty similar. They're just a little more, honestly, I think the movie actually gave us more backstory on the bad guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Than we got in the book. Because in the book, we don't know much about them. They tell us a little bit more about their professions.
Yeah.
One of the differences is the dark-haired girl.
I can't remember her name.
I can't remember. I know it's Sabrina, Leonard, Redmond.
But she wasn't a chef. I don't even remember what her job was in the book, but she had a very small part. Like, I feel like she was not a key person in this situation.
Her only thing in the book is she complains about the door a lot.
Yeah.
But in the movie, she now has a kid, which she talks about at the last minute. And we know she's not making it up because we see the picture later on. But she's she comes across more like young and kind of chill.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call her Black Shirt because that's the color of shirt she's wearing. But the girl in the black shirt, or is her name Abigail?
It's something like that. It's something like that for sure, but I can't remember.
Anyway, we'll just call her the girl for right now.
That girl.
Okay, that girl. So her situation in the book is totally different, and I kind of knew this was going to happen because you see her with one of those hoods over her face, which means that they're going to Adrian. Thank you, Retro Media Man.
Adrian. Thanks.
Adrian. She was wearing one of the hoods. Well, in the book, they don't execute her. They only really do the formal execution for Redmond, and that is almost exactly the same. When it comes to be her turn, you want to tell me what happens?
I don't remember. It's an accident, right?
Sort of. She gets really, really upset. And you also kind of, when you watch the movie or read the book a second time, Adrian, a second time, you realize part of the reason why Redmond's so pissed is because he knows he's going to be the first one to die. There's an order to it.
He has, like, very little chance of surviving this situation.
Yeah. So I think that's why he's so angry. And then you get to Adrian, and she is kind of chill for most of it, but when it gets to be her turn, she's like really up in Andrew's face and telling him like, you need to start listening and you need to, because she doesn't want to die.
She starts losing it. She
starts losing it, and he ends up killing her in a fight. This is after he's gotten the gun. After he's gotten the gun, he's come back. He ends up shooting her.
That's right.
And then I guess we should tell them. Okay, big spoiler for the book. Leonard is trying to control the situation with the gun.
This is like the spoiler.
This is the big one. Leonard's trying to control the situation. He puts his hands around Adrian's hands and closes them. This makes the gun go off, and Wen is shot.
Yeah, right in her face.
Yeah.
It's really upsetting. I remember, and it happened, like, I remember reading it and thinking, there's no way. This can't be happening.
Well, and the other thing too is this book, what's interesting, each chapter, it's told in close third person, but they're each from different characters' point of view. So you're not getting the whole like I narrative, which I think is annoying when they switch characters with that kind of writing. But this is close third person, so you're deep inside their brain and hearing all of their thoughts. So Leonard has a chapter. Mostly it's Andrew and Eric, which is why we know them so much better. Yeah. And Wen is the first one.
And And when Wen gets shot, you're in her head.
Yeah, and it's like, and then she didn't think anything again.
Yeah, and then she didn't feel or hear anything ever again. And that's it. That's
and
the
you're just like,
last
you
she
did
gets.
not
I'm
just
gonna cry
shoot
just
the little
thinking
girl.
about it.
And the worst part is it wasn't even like a choice or anything. And so that really, that's the biggest change.
Yeah.
And that
just an
completely
accident.
changes the trajectory of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Because then they think, well, maybe that counts. And Leonard's like, I don't think it's going to count.
Because it wasn't a choice. It wasn't a sacrifice. It was just an accident. And their visions were pretty clear to them that it had to be a sacrifice.
Yeah. And so according to Andrew, that was a sacrifice. That was their daughter. And they didn't ask to have people come to their house. They didn't ask to be in this situation. So, yeah. And at the end of the book, ultimately, Eric is kind of like he is at the end of the book here. And I feel like I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Yeah. But I'll come back to that.
Step by step. So Adrian dies. Leonard and Wen dies. And Leonard pulls a hood over her because it's part of the ritual. And Leonard ends up getting seriously injured in that fight too.
Yes.
Like very seriously injured. And they lay him out on this table and they tie him down. And Sabrina, they had been in an altercation outside in the car when Andrew went to go get the gun.
That's pretty similar to the book.
So she's out running
She goes
around.
out there and she's like, I have to hurt you to stop you.
Yeah.
He gets the gun and then, she ends up coming in the house again later on.
But yeah, so Leonard's on the table and he's still trying to like talk to them about this thing, and then Sabrina ends up coming in later and he tells her like, if I don't make it out of this, you have to put the hood on. You have to put the mask on me. We still have to complete our part of these rituals. Oh yeah, your pictures.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you have pictures.
Dun, dun, dun.
Hey,
we have pictures. How fancy.
Yeah, that girl. That dark-haired girl.
So this one here, Adrian. That's one we were talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were talking about. So this is Sabrina in the yellow shirt.
And she's the last one in the book. She goes with them all the way after Leonard eventually ends up dying because of his injuries.
Well, she does kill him, though.
She does kill him, that's right. She does make that sacrifice.
Ultimately, he is pretty beat up, but he wouldn't have died. She kills him. She takes her tool, and leading up to that, one of the biggest changes is she's come to the conclusion, largely because now it's not known for certain in the book, but Andrew firmly believes that the man who attacked him from behind in the bar was Redmond. And he's positive. We never get full confirmation on that. He says to check his wallet, but they left their wallets in the car. Yeah. So there's no way of doing that. And we never find out. It's very ambiguous, particularly because he didn't even look at the guy. But he did, follow his whole, court trial and everything. So he'd seen his picture a lot. He just was like, hey, he's gained some weight and stuff, but it's this guy.
And Eric was not with him when he had that situation, when he was hit by him. So Eric doesn't really know. Eric can't really help him like corroborate this. And also Eric has a concussion, so he's not much use to Andrew.
And I feel like the decisions they make in the movie make a lot more sense when you read the book, because Eric and Andrew are very different people. And Andrew, after he got attacked, he took up boxing, self-defense. He already knew how to shoot a gun from growing up hunting and stuff. But he
bought the gun.
He bought a gun, which Eric was not okay with. They had to get a special safe and everything for Eric to even allow it in the house. But he really, you get this impression that he thinks everyone outside of their family is potentially their enemy. He doesn't trust anyone anymore because without doing a damn thing, he almost was killed.
Yeah. He's pretty convinced that this is a hate crime or like a random act of violence. Like these people are out of their minds. He's not convinced that it is truly the apocalypse happening.
And that's why, and also he's a lot more, in the book he's a professor too. He's a lot more analytical. He has no spiritual beliefs. So when he finds out like, you guys met on a message board, he thinks they've been radicalized. Also, the things that are happening in the world are not as clear cut
No, there's a lot of ambiguity as to what's really happening. It's happening, like you're getting these news feeds, but if it's really connected to what the four are saying, the decisions that they have to make, it's not clear. It seems really like a coincidence. Andrew makes a lot of good arguments as to why it could all just be a coincidence and a setup, and not truly.
This is Andrew.
There's Andrew.
Yeah, and so you understand why, and he basically says, I don't give a crap if it's true or not. Though, like we said, it's a little more ambiguous. The tidal wave one is pretty much exactly how it is in the book. Mm-hmm. They get to and honestly, the virus one that's attacking the kids, affecting the kids, that's pretty close.
Yeah.
The planes is completely different.
Completely different. By hundreds.
Hundreds. It's like 700 planes in the movie. And they see one of the planes drop out of the sky where they are, and then there's lightning. Mm-hmm. It starts raining towards the end of the book. Oh, hey, Tanisha, thank you so much. Much appreciated for the super chat. She says, Gory B, check out Kim D's podcast, Spotify. Oh, you checked it out? That's awesome. Very cool. Her podcast, Ghoulish Tendencies, is really good. She was on my Scream stream on Sunday. I'm really glad you checked that out. Very cool. Look, a little Reagan out there.
I love it. She's so scary.
She's adorable. Thanks, Denisha. So, it's not 700 planes. There's no plane near their house. It is raining towards the end, but you could think like someone hacked the system. And honestly, I think there's enough room, at least from Andrew's point of view, for doubt. But he says, even if it's true, I don't give a crap because the world has been cruel to me and my family. And the only people I care about is my husband and my daughter. Mm-hmm. So even if it is true, I still choose not to kill my family.
I'm not going to kill them. Yeah.
It's not going to happen. He doesn't care if the whole world ends.
Yep. Yeah. And ultimately he's able to convince Eric. Like, Eric is having a really hard time because of his head injury and his upbringing as Catholic. And I think when I first read the book, I was really upset about the end. I was really upset about when. I was really upset about the ambiguity. Like, I want to know, like, well, was it all for nothing? Did she die for nothing? Like, are they truly in the apocalypse? Like, what's the outcome? But then after having some time away from it and watching the movie, I kind of love the open-endedness of it, and it feels more like a love story than anything.
The book is a lot more of a love story, and then Eric got, especially because if you've seen the movie, you know Eric chooses to die. Yeah. They don't even show it, which I feel is really upsetting. Like, I want to see his husband holding his hand. Like, I want to see him being there for him. We don't get to see anything. But the other thing that I think is really upsetting is Eric isn't even really explored as a character. By the way, hey, Kal-El, he says he's just stopping in to say, hey, what's up? You don't want to hear spoilers, then you run.
Get out of here.
Run.
Get out of here.
Lots of spoilers. So Eric is raised very religious. And it's Eric who has more of an issue with his parents, which it's kind of not even in the movie. They're like, his mom's on the phone. She wants to know how everything is. His parents were paying for his college, cut him off when they found out he was gay.
They end up making a full turnaround. Yes. And they're like super involved, but it was a big deal for him in the beginning, for sure. Yeah,
they eventually do come around, especially when they have the daughter. And they give him a check for everything they didn't pay for. They come around, but they both dealt with parents abandoning them. And it looks like there was more Eric originally in this movie, because if you watch the trailer, there is a shot of him in a church. Also, the guy who plays Charlie Brewster, which I'm blanking on his name right now, from Fright Night, he is cast and listed on IMDb as Eric's father. So I think that scene was a funeral scene. And we were supposed to have a scene where he's burying his dad. Also on Reddit, I saw someone say that they were an extra for a funeral scene.
And we never got a funeral scene.
And we never got that. And I think that's such a bummer, because we don't get to know Eric very much. And we understand where he's coming from. The other thing they cut out too is in the trailer, you see the shape Eric sees.
And in the movie, it's really just a light glinting off the mirror.
Yeah, they don't show it. It's clearly a shape, though, in the trailer. And in the book, he believes, right, when they're killing Redmond, that he sees a figure standing behind them. Yeah. And he's very religious. So Andrew's like, I don't want to say you're wrong, but you are religious. These people are getting in your head, and you are concussed.
Like, severely concussed.
Yes.
Yeah. And I feel like in the book, when he talks about that figure, it's like almost more solid. Like, it moves in front of something, doesn't it?
It's behind them. It's like moving behind them.
Something. It's moving. It's not just like a glint.
It looks like a person.
On the mirror. Yeah.
Hey, my Chunky Geordie's here. What's up? My Chunky Geordie's all the way over in the UK.
UK? Yes.
Yeah. Retro, I agree. I want a director's cut when it comes out because that was in the trailer, and I would like more Eric. And it makes so much more sense why Eric, one, believes it because of his upbringing, and two, one, self-sacrifice and all that's a very kind of a religious thing that you're told.
Yeah.
Put like God and humanity above yourself, even your family.
And that's his whole case when he's fighting with, not really fighting, but pleading his case to Andrew in the end. He's like fighting to be the sacrifice. He's like, if it is real, like, I can be the one to go. Like, I will do this for us. For
they
the
never
world.
Consider Andrew or Wen.
No,
it's always Eric who's like, Eric. It's gonna be me.
Yeah, he fights for himself. But in the end, Andrew talks him out of it, and I love that. I love that he was able to do that.
Oh, Retro Media meant your husband. I didn't recognize because the picture's so small.
It's Doug. Look at the little face.
It is Doug. Hey, Doug.
Yes.
I'm like, who's this guy? That's so funny. He even has his picture that I don't recognize it. And he even introduced himself as that yesterday. Yeah. I should have known better. Anyway, what Eric says in the book is he's like, I'm going to kill myself because they did not clarify that you can't kill yourself in the book. So he's like...
They did they?
Yeah. In the book, he says, I'm going to kill myself. Yeah. And basically it describes them in the rain. At this point, so I skipped over something.
We've jumped a lot.
We're jumping around.
It's okay.
Hopefully you guys are following. Yeah. So Sabrina, she comes to the conclusion, like Andrew, where once they realize that Redmond potentially was the person who attacked Andrew, she's like, this isn't adding up. I didn't want to do this to begin with. I don't even remember driving here. And that's one of the creepier parts is they have a lot of lost time.
Yeah, their compulsion. Like they can't help themselves but to get to the cabin. They're having all these visions, and when they're doing the killings of Adrian and Redmond, they don't like
remember it.
They don't remember it. They're kind of moving in like a choreographed thing, and they do it, and it's silent, and then it's over, and they kind of like come out of it.
Yeah, and so she doesn't even remember like going there. She says she doesn't remember making her weapon. Yeah. She made the or maybe Redmond made the weapon. I can't remember. They had different jobs. I think she made the hoods. Yeah. She doesn't remember any of that.
That would make sense because she was the nurse. It's like the gauze.
Yeah. Yeah. So she doesn't remember any of that, but at this point she just thinks it's messed up because a little girl has died, and that's one of the other censures. Like at this point, like she did not sign up for a little girl to get shot in the face, so she doesn't care if it's real or not. She wants to help them get away.
So she walks them all the way down to where the cars are, and she's pretty injured. Andrew, is he the one who hurt his knee? Yes, she
hit him in the knee.
She hit him in the knee, like tore something, hit him in the knee, and so he's struggling to get down there. And then Eric still has his concussion, so they're, trying to get down there. And she walks them down there, and again she has this compulsion. And when they get to the truck, after they find the truck and the keys, somebody had buried a gun down there too. And
Redmond buried it.
She kills herself.
Yeah, so that's really creepy in the book. So in the book,
it's very upsetting.
There's with the keys is their IDs and a gun. And she thinks Redmond had that as like a backup plan. Like if they tried to get away or whatever, he had a gun there to stop them. So, and she basically, they describe her taking the gun and she's like completely blank. And she picks it up like robotically and shoots herself. Yeah. it's like she has no control over herself. And she tells him she doesn't want to die and stuff. So
Yeah.
she's not like trying to sacrifice herself for the world. It's like she has no control over it. And for me, that was the thing that was like, I think this might be real.
That was the thing that kind of cemented it for me too, that it was more likely real, was they couldn't help it. They couldn't help it. Yeah. It was really sad.
It's very sad.
It was really sad.
So after that, you have these two men, and the other thing too, they are not leaving their daughter there. They are very big on this together for
he
everything.
Carries her
They're
whole
carrying
way.
her corpse wrapped in a blanket.
Yeah.
Which is horrible. And so they have their baby in their arms, and it describes them just kind of collapsing against each other, like having this argument. You know, they went down, and Eric's like, I want to kill myself. I think it's real and stuff. And Andrew's basically like, his argument's really, really good. He says, you think you're being really noble and stuff, but what does that do to me? Mm-hmm. You're going to force me to live alone forever. He's like, honestly, I would rather be dead than have to live without you. I'd rather you killed me.
Because he also already lost his daughter. To lose his daughter and his husband.
And what ultimately convinces him is he says, those people said our daughter's sacrifice wasn't good enough. Our daughter died for nothing.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's bullshit. We're not playing this game with them. Like, he's like, and it's very romantic idea. It's kind of a metaphor for, I think, marriage.
I think so too.
It's storming and stuff, and it could be because it's a storm. It could be because the world's ending, but he basically says, no matter what happens, it's you and me together, no matter what. Yeah. If the world is ending, if there's a storm, no matter what happens, we are together forever. And I am prepared to stand by your side through anything.
Yeah, I mean, they went through a huge trauma, regardless of if it was truly apocalyptic or not. It was a home, what do they call it? Like a
home invasion?
Home invasion, yeah. Maybe borderline hate crime. And their daughter died because of it. And whether it is, an apocalyptic situation or not, like, they went through this trauma together, and Andrew's able to talk him through it and be with him, and they really just like leaned on each other.
Yeah, it shows them just kind of like collapsing on each other, just crying. Yeah. And we don't know if they're going to live or not, but what we do know for certain is they will always be together. Yeah. They will
choose each other.
And choose each other. And I just think it's like a metaphor for, like, marriage or any relationship that's important to you. Mm-hmm. Your parents, your children, anything. Just this idea of no matter what comes, come what may, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Very romantic. The other thing that the book made me think of, because unfortunately I told you about this, I have come across some really upsetting opinions. I'll put it that way. And I've heard people tell me, religious people tell me, that they believe that it actually is the end times. We have riots, we have global warming, we have COVID, we have all these things. And some people think that the world already is actually ending, and they're trying to connect these dots and make sense of just a lot of horrible tragedies. Yeah. When I think the world's always had a lot of stuff, I think, because we have the internet and we're able to know what's going on all over the world at once.
And that's kind of just the way that, like, the news is these days, too. Like, you can't turn on the TV without seeing something tragic happening.
That's what the news does. They don't cover, I mean, they have a few fluff pieces, but it's mostly horrible stuff.
Like, and this thing is terrible.
I remember one really homophobic comment I heard from somebody where it was the year that gay marriage became legalized in our state. And then that year, I think there was also, like bird flu or swine flu or something. And they said that was why, because God was angry. I was just like, that's the most awful thing I've ever heard. That hurt me to hear it. Yeah. And it made me think, like, what if these people, like, I could see where Andrew's coming from. Like, these people might be radicalized. They're reading too much into this. And yeah, honestly, I could turn on the news right now and I'm willing to bet there's something horrible on there. Maybe something about COVID. Maybe something about something horrible happening with a bomb in the world, or, disagreements between countries. Like, I'm willing to bet it's not going to be all sunshine and puppies.
Mostly not. There's no sunshine. It's 20 degrees outside.
Yeah.
All the puppies have a disease. It's terrible out there.
Ultimately, did you think the world was really ending? It really was the apocalypse?
I never landed. I never landed. I never really felt like one way or another. I was kind of up in the air. Like for me at that point in the book, it didn't matter. I wanted to know, but like it wasn't the purpose of the story for me.
I agree with you 100% on that. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm kind of on the fence too, because the only thing that was like, because I didn't trust, I love you, Eric, you're a great character, but I don't trust you because you're concussed, my dear.
Yeah.
And the new stuff was like, the tidal wave one was kind of interesting, but sometimes horrible stuff happens. But even then, like, if they're truly radicalized, you hear about people who get radicalized and get, all amped up about something, and they're like, I don't even know what I was doing. No. I was so wrapped up in it. People who, get involved in mobs and stuff where you get mob mentality. And this is a tiny mob of 4 people.
I mean, how likely would you be to join a cult?
It's like cults,
I could probably be convinced pretty easily to join a cult.
And you've got someone like Leonard leading it who's so charismatic. So
I would join this cult.
Oh, God, I would.
Sign me up.
Leonard. But yeah, so, I mean, even though they seem out of control, I do think when you look at some horrible things people have done when they're, protesting something or they're in a cult, a lot of the individual people, they lose their sense of individual thought.
Yeah, it becomes extreme. It becomes the cause. I guess if I had to pick what I truly thought was happening in the book, I think the apocalypse was really happening, and mostly because of the behavior of the people in the group. It's like that lost time, that compulsion to like do the things. That was really like the selling point.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards it was too, but I also love this romantic idea of that. And ultimately, I thought about this before the book even ended. You do ask yourself, what would you do? And I know so many things have told us the right thing to do is to choose humanity. There's an episode of Charmed like that. Yeah. It's the whole trolley game thing. And
there's an episode of Angel where she's like being fed somebody once a month. It was that lady that was in Serenity. And
more background.
I don't remember. Anyways, she's like being fed and they stop it because she's like eating people, but it's like one person a month. And then it turns out that she was like creating world peace or something like that.
Jasmine, I know who you're talking about. Jasmine.
And they're like, did we just screw up?
Like, yeah. So even Buffy, the Buffy chooses the opposite way. If her sister's sacrificed, it will all end. Her sister's the key. And she said, honestly, no. I've sacrificed enough. Yeah. I don't care if the world ends. I'm not letting them kill my baby sister. And then ultimately she decides because she's got the same blood as her sister, she's going to kill herself. Yeah. But she does still offer a sacrifice. And I thought about this, and my only frustration with the book and the movie is these are intelligent men, very intelligent men. And I think especially if you're Andrew, you're a professor, you're doubting these people, you're trying to find holes in it. The first question I would ask is, who's giving you this information? There's a lot of stuff in there where people talk about, like, I'm spiritual or not spiritual. So I think they're kind of thinking it's God. And this is like a Revelations thing. But that's not the only possibility here.
No, it could be any kind of outside force.
It could be aliens. It could be aliens toying with us and doing an experiment. There's a movie called The Forgotten where it is aliens. They're testing our relationships. They take her son away to see how long it would take her to forget him.
Yeah. I mean, it could be like an inside government job, like a doxing situation.
Like an MK Ultra type thing. And that would explain why they're acting so bizarre. Like if they're, under some kind of, control of the government. Yeah. It could be that we live in a simulation.
Yeah. Yeah, there's all kind. It could be, what was Danny saying, like an old god, like an eldritch god, kind of
Lovecraftian stuff.
The situation. There's so many.
Thanks, Denisha.
So many things that it could have been.
I hate that they instantly are like, it's a Christian Old World Testament type God, and that's okay, and we're going to accept that. Because then the next thing I would say, Kayla here, also practicing witch.
Hello,
if it was me, if it's, thank you for subscribing, Evangelia. Welcome. If it was me, what it is, I would want to know what it is. Yeah. And depending on what it is, that would determine how I respond. If it's an Old World Testament type God thing, I would treat it like any one of a number of gods, like, how they treat Glory in Buffy. Yeah. I'd be like, okay, you know what? Where are my witches at? Kayla, get over here. We're going to do some crazy witch stuff, and we're going to destroy or banish or bind this god. I'm not gonna play this game, because if it's a god, then, and they've been doing this for forever, that's sick.
Yeah.
That's just, that's like
are
a
they
whole,
ever going to change their ways?
And what if we do this, and then 2 days later they're like, yeah, I'm gonna end the world anyway. Why lean into this?
Or you have to depend on somebody else to make a decision to save the world in 2 more days. Like, then you go through all this for no reason.
Whatever this creator that's making this decision is, it obviously has no respect for our life. And you know what? I would choose my family. And it's not because I don't care about you guys in the world. I love all of you. I love this world.
Yeah.
It's because I am not a killer. I am not somebody who kills people. I never am going to be that. I don't want my son to know that in me. And if the world ended, it would be because a god chose to end the world, not because I did.
Yeah.
It's not my fault.
Yeah. You're not.
That's some victim blaming right there.
You're not a killer, and like especially for your own family. Like, if it was like you have to pick a random person on the street, like you could do your research. You could be like, well, the world's probably better off without this person. But I mean, that still would be terrible, right? But it would be a lot less personal than being like you have to kill either your husband or your daughter, or convince them to kill you to get through.
I'm not gonna kill my husband because one, I don't want to deal with the grief. I don't want to be a killer. I don't want my husband to kill me because he's a good man and he's not a killer. And I don't want my son to see his parents kill each other.
And ultimately, they don't know.
And they don't know.
They don't know what the truth is. And I almost feel like in the end, if the apocalypse isn't real, right? And they go out there and they see everybody's fine, like the world continues as normal, it makes the choice that they ended up making in the book so much more meaningful.
Yes.
And
I think that's the thing, because I don't think we ever do know. It's kind of like with religion, everyone's entitled to their own beliefs, and no one can tell you that you're wrong. I live in the belief that even with my spirituality, I'm probably at least 75% wrong, if not more. I'm only human, and I can't understand things to their full extent. I'm just one human person, but I can find the answers that get me through the day and that make me feel like I'm living my life to the best of my ability. So my answers are not your answers, but if it's like this spiritual thing, it's like there are other possibilities. It may not be that your religion's the end all be all. There could be no religion, there could be no God, there could be no spirituality.
We don't know, and we'll never know.
We don't know, and that's kind of what the point of this book is that we don't know, and so you need to decide what is important to you.
Pick your
people
truth.
Make a lot of decisions in life. I know a lot of people who believe that like this life is like temporary, and it's just a blip until we get to the afterlife. What if you're wrong?
What if this is it?
And you lived your life
like garbage
for nothing, for something that didn't happen.
I
think we should always doubt ourselves. And I'm saying this as somebody who is a practicing Wiccan. I have spiritual beliefs, but I'm willing to accept that I can be wrong. And I'm not willing to do anything that would change my core values, like murdering somebody.
No.
Because, anything, if I heard, nature or the goddess or the moon or whatever telling me to do something, I'm like, you know what? Maybe this Wiccan thing's not working out.
Yeah, maybe we pick something else.
Time to pick something else.
The moon's not going to tell you to kill anybody.
So I love the book ending for that reason. Now the movie, and I like M. Night Shyamalan. He essentially said that, and a lot of people didn't like the book. I think the ending of the book, I think mostly because Wen dies.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to watch that movie. I would not have wanted to see
that beautiful kid get shot
on screen. It's different in the book. It was different in the book. It was still horrifying, but I wouldn't have wanted to watch that movie.
And carrying her body around like that, it's so much different when you see her face.
You know who could have done that movie?
Who?
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah? Because like Pan's Labyrinth.
Or like The Orphanage.
Yep. I honestly, and we know from watching a lot of M. Night's, oh, she's so sweet. We know from watching a lot of his movies, horrible things do happen. Mostly they do end with a relatively happy ending, with the exception of maybe Unbreakable. But mostly, Sixth Sense, it works out. The kid's going to be okay. Yeah. I don't think he was prepared. By the way, hey, Mayanne, I don't think he was prepared to kill a little girl in his movie. He didn't want that. And he talked to Paul Tremblay, who is the author of the book, And Paul Tremblay said, actually, the ending you're going to use for your movie was my original ending. And I ended up changing it because of the direction I wanted to go with it. So, you know, M. Night basically says, you know, if you like the book, you have the book. The book hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah, go read it.
This is just like a multiverse, like, what if? This is another possibility. And I think it's almost like, what if Eric won the argument?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how he would convince Andrew to kill him. That's a lot.
Yeah. But, I mean, he did it in the movie. But,
but
it kind of felt
he
like
just
barely.
Kind of gives in.
At that point, I was also kind of checking out. I was like, this is not going the way that I wanted it to. So, like, I wasn't really listening to his argument. I don't know if it was good or not.
It was a very short argument. Yeah. He went from being very passionate, we're not going to kill each other. And Andrew never brings up the points he makes in the book where he's like, I don't want us to, you know, be without each other. The biggest difference is Eric ultimately gets a vision, much like the people who've approached his house. He sees a vision of his daughter having her own veterinary practice and with her dad in the car, and he wants that for them because he loves them so much. Yeah. And so it's not even that he's choosing humanity over them. He doesn't want them to live in a Mad Max world. He wants her to be able to care for animals. And he wants
her best possible life.
He wants them to have the world that he envisions for them. And he doesn't want them to suffer or have to be in like hard times. Yeah. And that's ultimately why he chooses to sacrifice himself. Yeah. It's not even so much that he chose humanity. He chose that he wanted them to live in this particular world, not a world that's going to end.
The movie makes it feel like he made the right choice. Like when they get to the diner and they start seeing like the deaths are slowing down with the plague. The planes aren't going down anymore. Like everything's kind of slowing down, and it really feels like his death did matter in the end. Where I feel like with the way that the book was going, it wouldn't have felt that way.
Yeah, and then the first thing Wen says when Andrew gets to her is she said, "Did Daddy Eric save us?" Yeah. And in the movie, it does make you feel like he was a hero, like he saved the world.
The whole world.
And she was also scared. She brought up things that she didn't bring up in the book, like even the kids are going to die.
Yeah,
like she was really upset about this stuff and the animals and stuff. Like this is a little girl who loves animals. One of the things I like in the book is. They cover more of like what happens at night and stuff. They all have to sleep in the living room, and Leonard tries to get her to talk to him and ask what her favorite animal is, or if that's her favorite animal, and then in her head she's like, I like all animals. Yeah, she's so
like,
sweet.
I'm not gonna pick one.
Yeah, she's just really, really cute. That's why it's fun to be in their heads because she's just such a sweet girl.
I do wish we would have gotten like I want to see more from this little actress.
She's not been in anything else.
So good. I was captivated by her, and I hope she does more.
Face.
I hope she does so much more.
You truly do not want anything horrible to happen to her. No. And I don't know if I mentioned it already, but Leonard in the book promises her. He said, I will not let them choose you. Because that's a possibility. Yeah. They might be like, hey, we can adopt again. Yeah. They never consider that in the book. No. That never comes up. But Leonard promises her, even if they did, no, it's not going to be her. Yeah. In the book and the movie, I wish there was more of a conversation, like, well, what if, and because there's a lot of, it's kind of a big question, and I think it deserved more of discussion.
Yeah. They didn't really discuss it until the end.
It's like, we're not going to believe. Now we're having this discussion, and it's really short. And even in the book, it goes a different way, but it's really short. But Eric, I feel like ultimately he felt like he's making this big sacrifice for the world, for his family. He feels good about himself. Andrew feels like his husband is a hero. And he knows that his job in this is to be the man who raises their daughter, which is going to be hard. But he knows that that's what Eric wants him to do. And their daughter knows that all the animals and things that she loves in this world are still going to be there. I think one of the biggest things that's different, though, is that Wen is alive. Yeah. Maybe Andrew in the book would have chose differently if Wen was dead. But
I didn't even think about that.
Yes. When Eric says she has a veterinary practice and she's so happy and she still asks all these questions and stuff, like he's like, yeah, I want that for her too, because he loves her more than he loves himself. And so instead of it just being him and Eric and basically saying, I can't live without you, like that's so horrible what you're doing, he's like, you're right. Our daughter deserves to have her dreams come true. She deserves to live in a world where she feels safe.
Yeah.
And they basically, in the movie, come to the decision that Gwen deserves to have this future. Andrew's job is to be the man that raises her, and Eric's job is to be the man that saves the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think about
Which is
that.
romantic in a completely different way. I think they're both very romantic.
They are, yeah, definitely. I didn't even think about that if she had lived, how the book would have ended.
I think it would have been different. I mean,
so
even Paul Tremblay said that was his original ending.
Yeah.
By the way, hey Jamie, nice to see you here. And Scream tomorrow on my channel. Scream is not tomorrow on my channel. It's tomorrow. I'm doing a watch party of the original Scream over on Craven Something Scary. Scream 2, I'm going to talk about that on Sunday.
Ooh.
I know, dude. I love Scream. What else? Here's something that I was really sad they didn't do. So here's a funny thing from the book.
Oh.
So obviously this book was written well before it was cast. These people were cast for different reasons. Bautista was cast because Knight liked him in Blade Runner. And Rupert Grint was cast because he's on Servant. And Knight really enjoyed working with him on Servant. So when this book was written, there was no idea that Ron Weasley would be in it. However, in the book, and it's so true when you have children, or nieces and nephews or whatever, you have kids in your life, you have things like, beach towels. I have a Godzilla beach towel, a Transformers beach towel, because I have a little boy. They have a little girl, and they have a Harry Potter Sorcerer's Stone beach towel. And after Redmond is killed, they use the Harry Potter towel to clean up the blood.
Clean up that mess.
I was like, it was already in the book. Why didn't you put it in the movie? It would have been so funny.
It would have been so good. I'm sure there was a rights. It's such a bummer though, because it would have been really clever, especially with.
It would have been. Do you need another beer?
I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, you can have one then.
No, it's good. I'm good. What else? What else have we talked about?
Oh God, I feel like I had so many other little points that I wanted to make.
There's some subtle differences. Like Leonard never had a weapon. He ends up taking Redmond's weapon. I think that's important to his character that he never had a weapon.
Yeah. No.
Jason is here. What's up? Thank you. And if you're enjoying the stream, please give us a thumbs up. It's cool. Helps us out a lot. Look, there she is. She's so cute.
She's so cute.
But the characters do look a lot like how I pictured them when I was reading the book. Granted, I knew the movie was coming out. So
the whole time I saw nobody but Dave Bautista. Like,
he's so good.
He was perfect. Yeah, I felt like it was really good. I just wanted more. Like, I feel like, obviously, I haven't read books the way I devoured this one in so long that it was really, I think I'm clinging on to the idea of the book too much, and I'm like not even giving the movie a chance. I'm like, I wanted more. I wanted the depth of the characters that you get in the book. I just wanted.
I hope we get that with like a director's cut.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I hope so, because I know there was stuff filmed. It's in the trailer.
Yeah.
I definitely want more. I do feel like they're both very romantic in different ways. Like, there is a really cute scene at the end of the movie where Boogie Shoes comes on, and obviously that's Eric's, like, I think it's his favorite song.
Yeah.
And he immediately turns it off. Like, I don't want to think about that. And then the little girl turns it on, and without having any dialogue, you realize that it's like they're turning it off because it's painful.
Yeah.
Because
so she turns it back on, and then she turns it off.
Because she loves him, she wants to hear it because it reminds her how much she loves her dad.
But then she sees her other dad.
And then she sees it's
really
hurting
sad.
Andrew, so she turns it off. And then he's like, it's like he sees that, yeah, I want to remember how much I loved him too. I don't want to forget that. So he turns it back on.
Let's put on our Boogie Shoes.
And they're not dancing to it or anything, but you can tell that they're having this moment where they remember how much they love Eric and that they're never going to forget him.
And he saved their lives.
Yeah.
Potentially.
That he basically gave them a world where they can still have bright futures.
Yeah. And each other.
Hey! Maverick Media is here. Blessed be Gory. Hello, everyone. Yes.
Yeah.
Other differences. Is there anything else?
Those were like the biggest ones.
I think the thing with both of them is pretty much the same. Because even choosing to sacrifice himself in the movie, he's doing it for his family, not for the world.
Yeah.
And in the book, it's pretty much that too. And it's a lot different with two grown men navigating the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Because if it is real, I think that's the other thing too. If one of them dies, you're forcing your partner to navigate. Well, I guess the world would be fine then if one of them died. But yeah.
No, because they have to pick. It can't be like an accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if one of them sacrificed themselves, I guess it'd be better. But I think in the book it's kind of this metaphor that despite all the ups and downs, despite how hard it can be being in a relationship, I would rather have that than not have you. So you can take that as a metaphor for, we might have really bad money problems sometimes. Something horrible might happen. We might have a death in the family or something that's really hard to overcome. We might get sick one day. Some horrible thing might happen. But no matter what horrible event happens in our lives, we're together.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like a metaphor for those important relationships in your life.
Yeah, I agree. Like picking each other through the trauma, through the horror of the world, like just picking each other, being on a team, and sticking with that, even when everybody else is against you, whether it's for a real reason or not.
But in the movie, I guess, one of the things I like about the movie and Eric's decision is Eric recognizes what Andrew recognizes, that there's a lot of people who don't understand their family, who don't appreciate them, but to be able to look beyond how hurtful that is and to be able to put humanity first, to put other people first, his daughter first. There is something to that is very heroic. Andrew can't get to that place because Andrew is angry, and I think after Eric makes his sacrifice, he's because he knows it's what Eric would want. I think he is going to be less like constantly thinking everyone behind him is his enemy.
It might soften him up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, and he can't, because he doesn't have Eric to be softer with him, and when now he kind of has to fill both of those roles.
Yeah.
He has to ease up a little bit and be like the stoic and protector and the guardian and soft parent.
Yeah. So I think they're both good endings in their own way. And it's like M. Night said, you have both.
Yeah.
And I think he justified his decision in his movie by showing us that it's pretty real. Also, after you see the freaking plane fall out of the sky, it's really hard to be like, yeah, it's not real.
No, it's pretty
It's kind of real.
I think
the lightning.
when I'm going to give it some time and revisit the movie, and I might like it better.
Think of it like a multiverse.
Yeah.
It's like, what if, I think the catalyst in both of them is Wen dying. So in the book, she dies, and I think there's no other way that it would happen. I think biggest reason why Eric chooses himself is for Wen, for her future.
Yeah.
And in the book, it's just the two of them, and he's not going to force his husband to be alone. That's so horrible, and they've suffered enough. It makes total sense in the book why they choose to just come what may.
Yeah.
But in the movie, they have a little girl.
Yeah.
And maybe they're ready to Mad Max it out, but they don't want her to have to.
Yeah, that wouldn't be fair to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they want to give her a true future. Yeah.
I think they're both good.
I'll watch it again in a couple months, and I'll change my
Maverick,
mind.
I hope your daughter feels better. His daughter's sick.
Aww.
Danny's doing good. He's at the store. He's working.
He's slaving away, selling toys.
Anything else we want to say?
I don't think so.
So if you haven't read the book and you've only seen the movie, I would say read it because you're going to get a lot more Eric and you're going to understand Eric a lot better.
Yeah. And it's a fast read. It's like 300 pages.
That's
so
one thing
fast.
I wanted to talk about too. The book, you devoured it in a day. And I started reading it in the evening. I finished it sometime the next day. Yeah. I finished it in less than 48 hours, possibly 24. I read it fast. His writing style is so good. And you just have, for a book that takes place in basically 2 days.
Yeah.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
I could not put it down. I just kept reading.
Yeah.
Honestly, the book is better paced than the movie.
Yeah, I agree. It kicks off right away. It starts the same way that the movie does. Like, he's in the yard talking to Wen, and it's just nonstop. And I was like, well, I know this is going so fast. Like, I'm going to know what's happening really quick. Like, we just got to get there. So I devoured it. I could not stop.
With the movie, I think it starts off super suspenseful when he shows up. But after you realize that they're not going to kill the family and they're just going to keep following this ritual, I think one of the things that makes it interesting in the book, too, is that Adrian is killed in a fight.
Yeah.
They know that things are not just predictable.
Yeah.
Wen gets shot. Unpredictable things are happening where it's very ritualized.
Yeah, they had these visions and it kind of didn't go to plan. But, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah. Fast read.
I know for some people they thought it kind of slowed down in the movie after a bit. I think it is because the stakes aren't quite as high. You know, these people aren't going to hurt them. When you realize that there are people and they're struggling to know what's real and what's not as well, and that they can freak out and they can attack and they can be random, in the book I think it makes it a lot more suspenseful. So it is a fast read. Like, seriously, you guys need to read this. Absolutely, I think if the movie was a cool concept to you but it didn't quite work out the way you wanted it to, read the book. Just prepare for all the heartache.
Yeah, it's real rough.
And Jason, no worries. I mean, Glory's a cool name too. Like, there's Glorificus. I'm just not a Glory. I'm a Gory.
Yeah. Glorificus?
I'm Gorificus.
Oh, I love it.
Gorificus Belial Movie. That's my whole name.
Your proper government name.
Yes, that's...
You should do that.
Yeah.
On your social security card and everything.
Yes. So, I think we've talked about everything we want to say in the movie.
Do you want to talk about book club?
Yeah, that's what I was going to do.
Okay, great.
So, Kayla and I have been talking about starting a book club.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about it just because we don't have a lot of friends who read a lot of the stuff that we like or at all. Our husbands are not big readers. I mean, Dan likes to have books read to him. I read Danny books at night.
Yeah.
But Danny will audiobook it or make me read it. If he has to read the words himself, that's too much work.
Doug likes to read. He just doesn't, I feel like he doesn't make the time for it.
I think that's for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's a lot to sit down and say, I'm going to read a book right now. But we want to start reading more. I didn't read a whole lot last year at all.
I finished 2 books last year.
I was terrible last year. I don't know if I even did 2.
So far this year, my goal is 20, and I've finished 4 books.
My goal, I think, was 12, like one a month, and I think I've done 3. Currently reading My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. But yeah, so what we're going to do, we're going to have a monthly book club. So we're going to tell you guys what the book is, and then once a month, we're going to talk to you guys about the book.
Yeah. It's going to be great.
I think it's going to be cool. So Kayla will join me for a book club. What are we going to call? Do we have a name for a book club?
I'm sure you can come up with something clever.
I'm going to come up with something clever.
Yeah. I trust you to do that. So our first book that we're going to read is... Shoot, where'd it go? One Girl in All the World?
Is that the one
Is
we're
that
doing?
where we landed?
So we decided for our first book, it's going to be One Girl in All the World by Kendar Blake. Big fan of her. She did a book called Anna Dressed in Blood that I loved. She's a really fun writer. Her books are easy breezy, quick reads.
Yeah.
And we both love Buffy.
We love Buffy.
And
that
I
was
bought
like how our friendship started,
Yeah.
I feel like.
I bought this book. I have it, and I haven't even read it yet. So I think this will encourage me to finally read it. And so, once a month, we're going to pick a book, and then we're going to read it. So I'm picking the first one, then you get to pick.
Okay.
You better start thinking about
I'm going
ideas.
to think. Okay.
So if you guys want to read with us and be a part of the discussion next month, I'm not sure what day it's going to be. We'll probably pick like a standard, like the second whatever of every month.
Yeah.
Or the first. I don't know, guys. Okay, we're still workshopping
We're
stuff.
workshopping it. Just calm down.
But all you need to know is this month's book is One Girl in All the World by Kendar Blake. So I'm going to write that in the chat for you guys. So there we go. All right, so here it is. One Girl in All the World by Kendar Blake. She's really cool. I've talked to her a few times. She follows me on Twitter, and I've read her book. She's super sweet and just really cool. And I love that she loves Buffy and she loves horror. Her book, Anna Dressed in Blood, is really cool. It almost seems like it's the main character reminds me a lot of Dean, and his mom's a witch, which is cool. Okay. She's a really fun author. I really like her.
I'm so excited.
So I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I've read a couple other kind of Buffyverse books, like But yeah, not by Kendra Blake. She's the best. And the other reason I really want to read this book is the sequel that's coming out soon. I think in March. She's got another book coming behind it. So, oh, wait a second. No. Oh my God. I told you guys the wrong book. Oh no. Oh no. I messed up. Don't do that. One Girl in All the World's the new one coming out.
What's the first one called?
Which I've already pre-ordered. The first one's In Every Generation.
Okay.
Wow, dude. I totally messed that up. Okay. We're wrong. Okay, guys? See, this is the point of our whole theological discussion we were having here earlier. It's not that it's wrong to believe in stuff. You just always need to accept you might be wrong.
You got to course correct.
Yes, yeah. You might be wrong. Like I was wrong about the title of this book. So, it's In Every Generation by Kendra Blake. So the next one is coming out real soon. So I really want to read it so that I can read the sequel when it comes out. Because, yeah, I love me some Buffy. I've been talking for a long time about how there's going to be more Buffy content on here. There is, guys. I have anxieties I'm working on, but there's gonna be videos. I'm gonna do it once I've done it. It's gonna be good.
Once you kick off,
yes,
there's gonna be no stopping you.
I can do it. Last year I had anxiety about streaming by myself and doing streaming in general, and I have successfully streamed at least once a week. So
you're the only one holding yourself back.
I believe I can do it.
I think you can too.
It's gonna kick ass. Yeah. All right. Kayla, she is, you can find her on all the time capsule stuff, obviously. And her Instagram is linked in the doobly-doo below. So if you want to check that out, she's super rad.
I don't have a lot on there. I'm not big on social media, but you can see pictures of my dog. She's cute. So.
Oh, yeah, Jason, that's Boris. I actually have a stuffed Boris. Yeah, actually, you can see him right there. Yeah, that's Boris, my crow. I think he might be in a video eventually. I haven't decided yet. Maybe. Who knows? Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us for this fun book versus movie discussion. Next month, we're going to talk about One Girl in All the World. We have a whole month to read it. We're going to talk about In Every Generation. Yes. I'm going to get it right. I'm going to get it right.
Okay. I'm excited.
I'm excited. And we're going to have a name for our book club. If you guys have ideas, comment below. Let me know. We're workshopping it, guys. It's kind of fun. Yeah. Probably make the group over on Goodreads, too. Mm-hmm. It's going to be super cool. We're all going to read a lot more. Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. Fairpoint Station, Jason, Maverick, Denisha, Mayanne. You guys are awesome. Jamie. And I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow over on Craven Something Scary for our Scream Watch Party. And Sunday for our Scream 2 discussion speaking. And until we meet again, blessed be. I did it.